Hello students. Today you will be learning about acknowledging sources. You will learn what is a bibliography or works cited page, a footnote, and a citation. After viewing the video, an activity will follow. Please pay attention. Thank you. Objective. Students will be able to cite information when conducting research. Here are the Georgia Performance Standards for 4th grade students. Here are the Georgia Performance Standards for 5th grade students. A works cited, also called a bibliography page, lists all of the books, newspaper articles, magazine articles, encyclopedias, internet sites, and other sources you used when you wrote your report. It should be put at the end of your report. It should be in alphabetical order by the author's last name. Try to include the author, title, type of source, and the date the work was published. Here's an example of a bibliography.
A bibliography is a list of sources you researched to obtain information. When citing your sources, use the proper bibliography format. The list should be in alphabetical order by authors' last names. Sources that don't have authors should be alphabetized by title. Let's watch a short video on magnetism. Then, we will write a bibliography showing different sources for a paper about magnetism. Magnetism is a phenomenon by which materials, such as metals, exert an attractive or repulsive force on each other. Magnetism was discovered by the Greeks in the province of Magnesia. It was found in the form of lodestone, which is an iron ore. Magnetism can be found in both the Earth's atmosphere and core. The Earth's center is composed of a magnetic core that acts as a massive magnet. The Earth's magnetic field channels charged particles and acts as a barrier to prevent harm from striking the atmosphere. Early scientists were inspired by the idea of magnetism. Franz Anton Mesmer was a popular practitioner in the late 1700s. He proposed the existence of a force called animal magnetism, and that magnets could be used to cure diseases. Today, we use magnets in the magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI machine. A patient is bathed in a magnetic field 5,000 times stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. Signals are translated to a computer that creates images of the inside of the body, which help doctors determine a patient's illnesses. Now, let's take a closer look at how you can write a bibliography citing sources you can use to research magnetism. A bibliography is a list of sources used when researching information. For a report on magnetism, a bibliography might look like this. It is generally alphabetized by author. One source you can use in your research is a book. To cite a book source, you start with the author's name, followed by the title of the book. Next comes the city in which the publisher is located and the name of the publisher. The last thing you list is the date of publication. Be sure to underline the title of the book. Another source is the World Wide Web. To cite a website, begin with the name of the online source, followed by the date you access the site and the website address. You might also find a magazine article in your research. To cite a magazine, start with the name of the person who wrote the article. Then include the name of the article in quotes. Finally, write the name of the magazine and date of publication, followed by the page numbers on which the article is located. To complete your bibliography, write your citations in alphabetical order on the last page of your report. It should look like this. We've learned that a bibliography is a list of sources you use to get information for a paper. When citing your sources, use the proper bibliography format. The list should be in alphabetical order by authors' last names. Sources that don't have authors should be alphabetized by title. Create a bibliography for your next research paper. Remember to use the proper format.
Sometimes you will see footnotes at the bottom of a page. Footnotes list sources or additional information in the order the writer used them in the report. It is a small raised number in the report, and it should match up with the note at the bottom of the page. Look at this example. The number should go next to the part of the report that goes with the note. A footnote should have some of the same information as the works cited page: the author, title, type of source, and the date. This is an example on how to use a footnote when you're using a book and a magazine to cite information. In order to credit pictures in a report, put a note right under the picture. It should say who took the picture or created the graphic. It should also say where you got it, that is, what source you found it in. You could put this information right in the report if you want to, but you should also include it under the picture so anyone looking at it will know where it was found. Plagiarism is when you copy someone else's work or use their ideas without giving them credit. You must give credit in a footnote or a listing on your works cited page, and you must use quotation marks if you use someone else's exact words. It is not a good idea to copy someone else's words without giving them credit, and in many cases it is against the law.
When you write a paper, back up your statements by citing your sources. Citing sources not only gives the source credit, but also tells the reader where you got your information. Use quotation marks when you are quoting exact wording. Use footnotes to give specific details of where you found an idea, fact, or quotation. And use italics to indicate the title of a book, magazine, play, or movie. Let's watch a short video about the history and planning of New York City. Then, we'll discuss how to cite the story's sources in a paper. New York City is the largest city in the United States. Located at the point where the southeast corner of New York State meets Long Island, New York City is home to more than 8 million people. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, it was New York's harbor that first drew the European explorers. When the Dutch arrived in the area in 1624, they came to do business and called their city New Amsterdam. The Dutch West India Company bought Manhattan from the Algonquin Indians for tools and trinkets valued at around $24. 40 years later, the English conquered the city and renamed it New York after the British Duke of York. Over the next century, the city expanded rapidly, but the usable waterfront was limited. The solution? Build more land. So much of New York City is actually built on a landfill. By the early 1800s, New York was the largest city in America. It had grown so quickly that the buildings and streets were a jumbled mess. The leaders of the city decided to get things organized. They created a new plan for Manhattan's streets, which they arranged in a grid. One drawback to the grid was that it did not leave much room for nature. So Central Park was eventually added to the plan. A competition was held to design the park. The winning plan created a series of diverse landscapes that included streams, hills, and meadows. The grid plan and Central Park continue to add structure and beauty to New York City. Let's take a closer look at how you would cite your sources if you were to write a paper about the story you just heard. Quotation marks tell your reader that you are quoting someone else's words. Footnotes provide specific information about the source of the quotation. Let's introduce a quotation from an encyclopedia article. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, it was New York's harbor that first drew the European explorers. Italicize the title of the source. Then put quotation marks around the direct quote. Now, let's add a footnote. A footnote contains all the information a reader would need to find the source you are citing. Putting the information in footnotes, rather than in the body of the paper, maintains the flow of the text. To do this, write a number next to the quotation and cite it as a footnote at the bottom of the page or at the end of your paper. For example, if this footnote is the first in the paper, place a number 1 after "It was New York's harbor that first drew the European explorers." Then place a number 1 at the bottom of the page and write out your footnote. The format for footnoting an encyclopedia article is to put the title of the article in quotation marks, followed by a period, the title of the encyclopedia in italics, period, and the year of publication, period. You don't need to list a volume or page number, since encyclopedias are arranged alphabetically. Footnotes are also used to cite paraphrased information, which conveys the same idea as the source, but in your own words. Introduce the paraphrase or summary. According to early New York, the Dutch West India Company bought Manhattan from the Algonquin Indians for about $24 worth of tools and trinkets. Italicize the title of the book. Then add a footnote just as you would with direct quotes. Since this is the second footnote in the paper, place a number 2 after this sentence. Then add the number 2 at the bottom of the page and write out your footnote. The format for citing a book is to list the author, comma, title in italics, open parenthesis, city of publication, colon, publisher, comma, and the year of publication, close parenthesis. After a space, write the page number followed by a period. Unlike in a bibliography, the author's name is not written last name first. When you are writing a report, remember to use quotation marks, include footnotes to cite your sources, and italicize the titles of books, magazines, plays, or movies. Write a 1-paragraph research report on a New York City building, bridge, or monument. Include at least one quotation and use footnotes.
Thank you for paying attention to the lesson. If you have any questions, please ask. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.